Hello and welcome back on the Lobster Talks, where interview YC founders at very, very different stage so they can tell you about their story, what they learned along the way. Today, I'm very excited to have Yonatan, the founder of Jiga. Yonatan, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Gabriel.
I'm excited. We were just, chatting just a few minutes before starting, and I was already super, super excited. You have a lot of very, very cool stuff to tell me and to tell us, all of our listeners. So I'm excited for that. Just to get started, could you give a brief introduction about yourself and about Jiga, please?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Yonatan. I'm 57 years old from Israel. I have two kids and I have two co-founders. And when I met my two co-founders, one of my co-founders, Asaf, was running a machine shop. A machine shop is basically a place where there is machines that manufacture parts for physical parts. So if I take, for example, my AirPods, it contains like maybe a few dozens of parts or maybe more. And each one of them has to go to a different supplier. And Asaf was one of these people that making those specific parts. And he liked the business a lot, but what he didn't like is like quoting, emailing, communication that was very messy with the engineers who actually designed this thing. Like think about this lid here of the AirPods. You cannot just buy it from Amazon because you just the engineer who designed it. So Asaf was really frustrated and his customers was really frustrated because everything goes with like very traditional communication methods like emails and telephones and sometimes even fax. And he came to me and to my Adar, our CEO. He said, okay, we have to do something about it. There is a huge inefficiency. Everyone has like a huge, like messy inbox that they want to eliminate somehow and just make it work. And let's start the journey to figure this out.
Amazing. And so Jiga today is a tool, I believe, well, I know that sort of automates that process, makes it outside of the inbox. You can, I believe, upload a 3D design of your product, get quotes instantly from a bunch of manufacturers all around the world, different places, different prices, different shipping and production time. And then you can choose an order in a few clicks. Is that correct? Did I forget something?
Yeah, that's pretty much what we do. Like the differentiator that what we basically have in Jiga compared to other platforms is that we provide like direct communication with the manufacturer who actually makes this part. So the engineers nowadays have like two options. They have one option to go via traditional ways like emails, messy inbox, messy fax, messy telephones. Then it's direct and they can communicate about like very specific technical details, which is necessary, or go to digital manufacturers, which would give you the experience like you just described, like give you an instant quote and then you just get the parts. But then they'll completely hide the manufacturers because they're at the marketplace and they want to hide the suppliers from the buyers. Jiga can offer like the best of both worlds. We offer like the streamlining all the messy parts of like logistics, customs, email streamlining and all this kind of stuff. And direct communication. So you have like a dedicated place where the engineers can talk to the machinists to make their parts.
Something comes to mind when I'm listening to you. So by the way, you went through YC in 2021. Is that correct?
Winter 21. Yeah, that's correct.
Winter 21. Okay. We're going to come back to that. There's a lot of YC companies in the recent, 2 years or year and a half that use AI to disrupt very old, very messy industries. And usually it's something very similar. It's like, oh, today everything is manual. Everything is an email exchange. It's in the inbox. It's very cumbersome, and we use AI to just disrupt and automate. What I was thinking when I was listening to you is you did this in 21 before AI. You're not disrupting with AI. Maybe you are using AI now. You're going to tell us about that. But you're already in 2021 taking a very old industry, relying on very old process, emails back and forth, and saying there's a better technological way. And so there's been, I think of Flexport. Flexport is exactly the same thing for international shipping from YC. And, they're a huge, huge, huge company, several billions of dollars in revenue. You did this sort of before it was cool, sort of before everyone else. And that's something that I really like. I can only applaud you because nowadays it's very, there's a lot of companies doing that, but you're doing it before when it was cool. So let me ask you this, because I just mentioned it. It's not the topic of today, but are you now using AI in any way in your product?
Yeah, of course. I mean, since AI, became so easy and like the models became so cheap, it's a crime not to use it, right? Because we are operators and our unit economics is based on transactions. This is how we make money. We are not SaaS. We make money in transaction. Every transaction has to go through some ops burden. Like if it's people that going through the transaction or like people who like tweaking this thing. So like you said, in 2021, there was like a lot of ops work and like a lot of labor, manual labor that we had to do behind the scenes. Now with the AI, economics is amazing because most of the manual tasks we just gave to AI. That's it.
Awesome. So you're already a profitable company before in terms of unit economics, but now the unit economic became even better. That's great news. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's the power of AI. By the way, like, talking more in general, not just about Jiga, to everyone listening to this, it's a question that everybody's asking themselves. What really is AI used for in companies? What's the impact? This is a perfect example where you're not really an AI first company. You're not building your own AI model, but on a business that was already working, AI is actually helping you make more margin and more revenue. Isn't that fascinating? That's just great.
Yeah.
That's the case for so many startups. So I just love that. That's absolutely brilliant. Okay. So when did you get started? 2020, something like this?
Yeah. 2020, just when they started here in Israel. So I met my co-founders. So we decided we're going to go for it. And and the COVID started.
Of course. And so a few months later, you're accepted to YC. So winter 2021. Can you sort of tell us a little bit through the journey? So 2020 before YC, what were you guys up to? Then how was YC for you? What happened? And then, since YC, it's been 3.5 years now. What have you been up to as well?
Yeah. So I've personally been saving up money to start my own ventures. And then it was time to go for it. And I found co-founders I really like and the problem I'm really connected to. And we decided to go for it. So we all quit our jobs and started this journey. And I think this is like first we talk about advices before. I think this is the first advice I'll give to someone who's like looking for starting new venture, like making sure you have enough money in the bank to like pay your rent at least and, eat something nice. Otherwise you're just not going to make it because it takes more time than you think. It takes more time than you think to raise money and it takes more time than you think to figure out product market fit. When we started, we thought we would land product market fit in 2-3 months, right? Why we thought this way? Because we started like really small. We did an MVP. Like the first MVP was like a WordPress website when people can like upload their CAD 3D models. We saw people really love it and we made it for them. So everything was manual. There was like no software behind it. It was like upload the parts and we manufacture it to them through like the network. So manufacturers
that's very YC like, by the way. You make a promise that you're going to automate, but at the beginning you just do it manually and you still have, you always have time to automate later. So you're already doing the YC way. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah. I don't know if it's necessarily the YC way, but it's like the Scrappy way. YC is encouraging this a lot to just like do things that don't scale and I create MVPs and just like see if people want it. But okay, we said like, okay, let's go for it. We started to actually make revenue even without writing a single line of code, which is amazing.
That's very, very impressive. I want to pause. So many entrepreneurs need to listen to this because everyone is like, oh, I've built my tool. It's been 6 months, but I have 0 customers. And now I need to do some marketing. Oh, it is so backwards. It drives me nuts. So let me repeat. You did revenue without doing a single line of code. I just, bravo.
Thank you, Gabriel.
You're doing everything right. Keep going.
Oops. True. Yeah. And then we're like, right? Because we got revenue. I mean, it's not high revenue. It's a few thousands of dollars, right? But we got something and people really love the service and people love that, they don't have to deal with like this emailing and telephoning stuff. And ASAP was basically doing everything for them. But then we saw like for a few months, we thought like, okay, we making like a few $1,000s the bill this month. Maybe we will get to product market fit like by middle of the year. And we didn't. The reason, because it's not so simple, we needed something more. And we started talking to users and we saw that the problem is a bit more complex than just like taking someone parts and manufacturing. And there's like so many nuances into it. And we got into YC based on that basically, which in retrospect, that was very little, but YC so what you're saying right now, that we are like do things like in a very scrappy way. and we don't give up. And if we see like a problem, we go to the users and we talk to them and try to figure this out. So like a little bit before YC and during YC and a little after YC, we started to pivot. But when we pivoted, we always pivoted on the same problem. I think someone told me like, you have to fall in love with the problem and not with the solution. And I think we very much did that. We fell in love with the problem of anything like, getting quotes, engineering, like manufacturing parts for themselves. We were sure that it's not right, that engineers to spend their time better than just like emailing all day to manufacturers. And after talking to many users, many engineers from like various companies, from startups to Fortune 500, we decided to pivot completely from this model, create a SaaS that will help them communicate with their manufacturers. And engineers loved it, or at least they told us they loved it. And even like maybe 24 hours after we launched this, we got the first customer in SaaS, right?
Wow.
And we thought like, oh, wow, this is amazing. This is recurring revenue. SaaS, all the investors love SaaS. Our investors love it. We love it. I mean, the problem with transactional model is that you need to, like in theory, you need to wait for like a new order every time. When SaaS, you just get it. We get it recurring. Like, okay, this is amazing. Let's try and go and sell it and like go up market. And we got into like a really big customer, and that the deal size was like, they required a lot of integrations, a lot of customizations for the workflow. And we did everything for them because they're like, okay, they're going to pay like a high ticket, so we must do that. And then we did it for them, and we signed like a contract, and they paid like about, they paid a big portion of the deal from. I flew to them to like do all the training and see how they're using it. And when I flew there, I actually talked to the users who actually gonna use it in this organization, and I saw they're not excited. I came back and I told my co-founders, I have a bad feeling about it. And yeah, 2 months later, they said they're not going to continue this contract. And we got a slap in the face the third time. And we thought, okay, what are we going to do? Let's go back and talk to users. And we saw that people want the ease of like ordering parts, and they want direct communication, and they want to get rid of all the manual work, all the admin work of like dealing with customs, with logistics and so on. And, we pulled up the sleeves and we tried one more time, not the last one, but this time, again, falling in line with the problem, pivoted. And this time, luckily we did it right. What we did, we went back to the transactional model, and all the learnings that we got from building the SaaS, we applied into the transaction model, but we just changed the model. So basically engineers comes now, upload their parts, the drawing. With AI, we extract all the relevant data, match it with AI to the relevant supplier. AI is doing like all the admin work that nobody wants to do, like finding discrepancies in like the quality reports or like this admin work. And our ops team is like working with the AI agent behind the scenes and making sure this experience is smooth. It worked. We started like gaining customers like NASA, Siemens, Apple, really cool startups, like robotic startups that basically generating, the futures of robotics and AI working with us. It's amazing. I can't believe I'm saying that. Like I work with the most brilliant minds in the industry, and it's really mind blowing.
Very, very interesting and impressive. It's interesting. I've been, working with so many startups and investing in so many startups. I feel very often you have either startups that they start with big customers, but then there's a lot of hand holding. And at some point they realize, wait a minute, we got to go to self-serve, and we do nothing for them. They just use the product, and vice versa. There's companies that do self-serve and they do small contracts, and then they want to move up market. They say, oh, we should do bigger contracts and bigger customers, but we're going to need to, do some level of service for them. And so you did this twice. You went to the bigger SaaS where you had a lot of hand holding to do and custom development, and then you came back. So you've really been full circle, which is quite interesting. Usually companies, they just do it once. You did it twice. So you realize you probably got it right the first time, but you just didn't know how good it was. You needed to go through that process. That's fun.
And I'm not sure we got it the first time, because I think and see, like in retrospect, we had to go through like this, SaaS phase to like understand it, because the first product that we had didn't get product market fit for a reason. There was like many like nuances in the product and in the market that I can get into, but it's really like granular. It seems like from all the learning, we managed to do it. But yeah, I feel like I will say that again, like we just really, really love the problem that we are solving, or like we really love to solve it. So we try to attack it from basically from every direction until we got.
And of course, I was not saying it was when I said you got it right the first time. Of course, it was not the same product exactly. You had to go through all this. So I wanted to come to you today with one major question. It's not a surprise to you because I told you just before we started, but I'm going to ask you now because I feel you've probably somehow already given part of the answer with this story you just said. But so I've been an investor in Jiga since 2021, so around just after YC. And my perception, you're going to tell me if it's the same to you, but now with the story you said, my perception was basically for the 2 years after we invested, so we can say 21 to 20, the business was pretty flat. I was, thinking, well, at YC they were growing and it was promising, but now it seems like we don't really, I'm not really sure about this company. I don't really know what's going on. And then it seems that in the last, year, probably, you guys have been exploding. I've been seeing the reports and the numbers have been growing and growing and growing. And I was like, whoa, what's going on? Suddenly it's really, really exploding. So I wanted to ask you first, do you agree with that? Second, what happened? What's the reason? And is it because you were doing all of those pivots and then finally you made it, what you just told us? But are there, I'm guessing it's a big part, are there other reasons, other things? And tell me about this thing. Did you leave? Did you have the same perception as me? Like, oh, it's not really working. And now, wow, it's exploding. What went through your mind during this whole time?
Yeah, no, I think it's mainly towards like, cracking the right product, cracking the right market. It's a feedback loop. So like you build something and then you give it to users and then you hit the wall because it's not working or because something is missing. And then you go back and build again and then try to sell it, really try to sell it and then hit the wall. And we did it for like, I don't know, 2-3 years, hitting the wall every time. Sometimes it was harder. Sometimes it was okay. We were able to sell it. But when you do it so many times and like, we try to do like we try to make the sale growth like really, 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 really fast, like feedback loops, like even 1 week or 2 weeks sometimes. And then you just get it. It can be even like really, really small things, like a really small feature that, we streamline the invoicing or like something that look minor. No, the next customer comes and you already have this, what you built for the previous customer that you hit the wall with. And this is how a great product that can get built. They don't get built like in the darkness. They get built when, customers actually try to see them and they pay for them. And yeah, but I think mainly it was due to like changing the model and changing the product and like creating the right people who going to use it. And thanks to our team, I think like our team is amazing. I don't think we could do any of that without any single person in it.
It's worth repeating because I hear this quite often. Again, I think it's the YC way, but it's not only YC, but it's the smart way of doing a business is iterate and fail fast. It's what you call hitting the wall, is you just fail. So you know what doesn't work. And so you go to something else and put it in front of your customers as quickly as possible. We've touched on it already twice. Don't build in the dark, you just said, and just put it in front of your customers as quickly as possible. So they can give you feedback and realize, and they can tell you what they like, what they don't like. You can see if they're actually ready to pay. The ultimate judge is not if you like it, it's the customer's credit card. If they're giving you money, they like it, even if you hate it, but if they like it. So, this advice is not, you or I did not invent it. It's pretty much available everywhere. But however, very few people actually do it. And that's, so that's why I think we should repeat it again and again and again. And also something I wanted to point out, when you were telling the story, you said, well, there's been 3 big phases. We started with the first sort of marketplace, then we went SaaS, and then we went back to transaction fees. So I'm thinking, oh, you did it, the cycle of trying and starting again. You did it 3 times in 3 years, once every year. But that's actually not at all what happened. And you just said the cycles are very, very, very short as 1 or 2 weeks, not for the entire company, but for like specific things. So obviously, as quickly as you can iterate and hit that famous wall and know what doesn't work and start again, as quickly you can have some actual product that some people want and learn. There's been a lot of talk on this pod and outside about sort of the pace that YC gives you, this sort of peer pressure, because you see all of those other startups who are just growing, and so you want to do like them. And I think it's every 2 weeks you're meeting with everybody and you compare notes, or you compare revenue and growth. But you've been doing that since 2021. It's been 4 years. How do you keep the momentum alive after YC? What's the secret to staying so agile and nimble like you did?
Yeah, I think that's something really good, and like surround yourself with like ambitious founders that are faster like you or more than you, and ambitious like you or more than you. But there's also downsides of it. For example, fundraising. I mean, we are not the fastest like fundraising for the seed. Okay, it took us like a few weeks, and some people just raise their like fundraising like in 24 hours. And then you look at this company, like, the guy sit next to you and he has maybe less revenue than what you have, or a little bit more, like you're more or less in the same state, right? And he managed to fundraise in 24 hours, and for you it take like, 4 weeks.
And more money.
And
Like
then you get
2
demotivated.
million and he gets 5 doing nothing, right? Yeah, that's
Exactly. And then you get demotivated because it's completely random. Because he would just like hit life. He was just like landing someone who like he got really connected to, or like he found like investor that was like the right deal, so whatever. It doesn't matter. I mean, fundraising, and this is also something that YC tells a lot to its founders, is that successful fundraising doesn't mean successful company. Sometimes this comparing, oh, this company is like having like 10 more MR, like, okay, it doesn't matter. Or like this company is growing like a little bit faster than me. It really doesn't matter. It's like really great company. It took them like 10 years to find product market fit. I'm not saying this is a deal, but it can happen. You will still be like a really big company eventually. So I think it's really important to stay focused on what you do and the problems that you're solving. Surround yourself like with the right energy, but not envying or like, being jealous at someone performing better or much better than you, because it doesn't matter. There's always going to be someone better.
That's pretty cool. I've compared myself so many times with other companies or other now investors, because now I'm investing. And, there's always someone bigger than you, someone more successful, or if they're at the same level of success, but then they're 20 years younger or something. So it's impossible to win. The only person you should compare yourself is to you in the past. Are you better today? Compare yourself to yourself 1 year, 2 years, 5 years ago. But comparing yourself with others makes no point. And also, maybe someone has a bigger company, a bigger fund, for me, etc. But they don't, everyone has different circumstances. They were not brought up in the same place, educated by the same parents, did the same studies, have the same connection and contact. So it's a waste of time. Also, I wanted to add, when you said biggest fundraising doesn't always equate with the biggest success, sometimes raising too much is actually bad for you because you don't learn scrappiness. You just, there's this, okay, I don't want to name the company, but there's an AI company that raised, I think, 11 or 12 million last year. And in San Francisco, they have billboards everywhere. It's a YC company. I'm sure many people can figure out who that is. If you walk in downtown San Francisco, they're everywhere. And of course, they're growing, but they're spending, I think, several millions per year, probably per quarter, on ads everywhere. And someday that money might run out. I actually think they're already trying to raise again, like 6 to 9 months after their first, because they're burning so quickly. So this can work out really well, by the way. Like, this could be a huge unicorn. Maybe it works, but maybe if you have a market downturn like we had in 23, or if for some reason growth doesn't pick up, you don't have any money anymore, but you don't know how to do without. What you had to do with a single seed raise, keep working for 4 years without raising more money. You have to become scrappy, inventive, and resourceful. And sometimes those big companies raising those big rounds, it's a curse because they don't need to think outside of the box. They don't need to do anything special. They just spend millions and millions on marketing. So I just wanted to add that point. Like you said, it's not always good to raise so much. Just another reason not to compare yourself. All right.
Absolutely. And I think it's not only with money, it's also with with labor. Sometimes I think I think it's even more important with labor actually, because managing people is taking resources. And if you start in like your seed raise and then immediately after that, like hire 30 people, it's really hard to manage 30 people. But if you have product market fit and you have a team of 6 or team of 7, then you can move quickly, you can align people very quickly, and you can make quick decisions. As when you have more people on the payroll, it's much harder. And I think like it focuses you and it forces you to like do only what is like absolutely necessary.
Yeah. And you can ease into it. You can at the beginning hire one person, and then a few months later, 2, 5, and after 1 year, maybe you're 6, and then you're going to be 30, maybe 2, 3, 4 years down the road, but you have time to learn to become a manager, which is one of the hardest things to learn. And it doesn't, happen on you just like, and by the way, you said product market fit with 6 people. Now with AI, we see companies in YC, I'm an investor in some of them that have product market fit and several millions of ARR, like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just with 2 or 3 co-founders and maybe like 1 engineer, and that's it. That happens more and more, and it's going to happen more and more.
Crazy.
So,
It's crazy.
that's also possible. And so you don't spend anything. It's even better. Okay. I'd like to now start, I want to get a confession out of you. I want to get personal. So can you tell me, how did you face that to keep going to survive? And then the second question is, once finally it's getting bigger, but let's focus on the negative. How are you feeling in that time?
You mean in the time that, we're not making any money and we're just spending money? You mean
Yeah, exactly. And you're thinking to yourself, it's not going well. Like if it stays like that, the company is going to fail. I need to do something. What's your, how do you manage that?
By staying modest, it's not just about the numbers. It's about like the psychological thing, like you said. If I'm raking at $20,000 a month office and flying every other day to another European capital, and I don't know what other fancy stuff like a tech company does, like all this kind of stuff. So if I spend money on this, like I'm like necessities. At the same time, it's not going well. I'm not making any money, or I'm making not enough money. I will feel really, really bad. But if I'm becoming really modest, like in even with my own salary, I will keep going. And I think, and it can take again, things take time. Like we thought we will get into product market fit in a few months. It took 3 years. And I think this is the biggest lesson I learned, just like stay resilient and understand this is part of the job. And part of the job is just like, pivoting and iterating and doing this business loop. And the last thing I think is surrounding yourself with people who understand it. If it's your family, your co-founders, which is the most important, and your investors. If you have investors on the cap table that understand that finding product and marketing can take a few years, so better, because someone believes in you and you'll get it eventually. And I think this is important, the environment that you have around you.
It's amazing. I love it. I couldn't even add anything. This answer is perfect. It's interesting. It's like, I almost feel in a sense that almost my question is irrelevant to you. And by that, I mean, it seems it was just obvious for you that, it's going to take time. I'm going to persevere. And I don't know, the way you answered it, it seems so obvious for you, where so for some people, if they don't have product market in 6 months, they quit. So you had already this spirit. I don't know where it comes from, your upbringing or something of like, it's going to be difficult and I'm just going to go through it. And so now I want to ask you the other side of the coin. Now it starts to explode finally. How do you feel then?
There is a saying in Hebrew, I don't know how to translate it, but it basically means that not forever. You're not going to be successful forever. And you need to stay modest. And not just because you have a few months or a few years of success, it's going to last forever. Because it will not. or it will only if you stay modest. So staying modest is super important, and it's the same way. It's like applying the same like principle or like I don't know attitude, even when you're successful. So not going over the top, not start like hiring like hiring spree, and not like not buying this private jet, even though it's really nice. I really like it. And then if you staying like cash flow positive and modest, you'll make it. And nothing basically I just feel better because my company is doing better, and I'm still gonna do it until we're gonna get to become like a $1 billion company. Simple as that.
It's very, very cool. Again, I really love it. I'm glad I got a little bit in your head. Thank you for opening up to us. I want to point out I think people have noticed, it's the same advice. When it's not going well, stay modest and keep at it. And when it's going well, stay modest and keep at it. It's the same thing. So I really love that and appreciate that. I want to take a very short turn before we end. We already spent quite some time together. We have a few more minutes. I want to ask you about, you mentioned several times having a community of entrepreneurs around you, getting other co-founders of other companies in your network. You've been through YC, and YC has never invested heavily in Israeli startups, but always a little bit. It's always been like sprinkled here and there. So how's the YC Israeli startup community? Are there a lot? Do you guys hang out together and know each other? Or is your network not YC at all? Yeah. Tell me about the YC Israeli startup scene.
Yeah. And you probably know that Israel is like a very vibrant tech scene, and there's like a lot of startups and obviously a lot of funds.
Oh yeah.
Lots of local and famous funds, unicorns. I don't know if it's still true, but I think like years ago it was the country with the highest rate of unicorns per capita.
Probably still true because there's not that many inhabitants. And there's a lot of unicorns.
I mean,
yes,
valuations, I don't know. I don't follow this. It's a little bit of anything interest. But so yeah, I mean, but yet there's not a lot of Israeli stuff, like you said. So I like it personally because it keeps the community small. I mean, it's basically a WhatsApp group when people can help each other, and it feels like a little bit like a YC group rather than something that is like full of people and like too crowded. Yeah, I mean, Israelis tend to be like a group that help each other when they need it. So it becomes like very resourceful group for asking questions or like asking for intros or asking for like technical questions or things like that. Sometimes we meet like every year or something at Tricks Wine. So.
Okay, and so I wanted to ask you, because Israel is such a vibrant startup ecosystem, like you mentioned, everybody knows. I mean, it is one of the biggest after the US market for startup, one of the best with numbers of unicorns and exits, etc. However, YC never, made it big in Israel. They, like we said, have a few startups. Do you think that's a mistake from them? If you're putting yourself, for you, it's better because it keeps the community small. But for YC, do you think they should have, 10, 20, 50 Israeli startups every year? Do you think they're missing out?
I'm not sure I'm in a position to like advise YC. I think what I can do is like encourage more people in Israel, like more founders in Israel to apply to YC. There's some people think that applying to YC is like, something big that, you only need to have like, some revenue threshold or like you need to be at like 3 successful exits or like raise from Sequoia. Answer is no. Everyone can.
Yeah, that's not true. Exactly.
We applied to YC with like very little revenue. We raised zero money before and we only existed like 8 months or something. So if you have a good idea, if you have like a idea and you have some proof of concept, real proof of concept, not just like after you build, but actually something like willing to pay you, I encourage you to apply because it cannot hurt.
Yeah, you're right. And I think the numbers, just, from the top of my head, but around 50% of companies are accepted with just an idea. So, no product and no revenue. I think it's maybe 40%, but yeah, you can apply to YC. That's interesting. Your answer is not that YC should be more in Israel, is Israelis should apply to YC more. I like that very much. And by the way, YC just moved to 4 batches a year. So there's now twice as many opportunities for founders to apply. So if you're an Israeli founder, first leave a comment below, say, thanks, Yonatan, I'm going to go apply now. And then you can go to the YC website and apply. All right. Is there a book you could recommend to us? I have no idea how much you read or not, but a book that had a significant impact on your life. Could be business, could be personal. If not, we can move on. But if there is one, would love to hear it.
I really like business book. I really love the mom test. It's really simple to read. Like even a foreigner like me can read this. It's not complicated English, and it does, like really practical and really tactile things. When I just started the company, I thought user interviews should be something completely different. And after reading this book, I completely approach and I have a different approach to user interviews. So I recommend every founder is start doing user interviews, read this before you do any.
That's pretty cool. I've heard about it now several times. It's not the first time, but I haven't read it. So I'm going to add it to my list as well. The mom test, for sure. I've heard many, many times about it. For founders, it's great. Okay, awesome. Yonatan, thank you so much for taking the time today and speak with me. For people who want to reach out, stay in touch, where can they find you? What's the best way to reach you?
You can email me, Yonatan.
All right. That's bold, giving your email like that. I hope you don't get... There's a lot of AI bots that are going to come and parse it and find it.
It happens anyway. I have a spam filter, so try not to be
perfect.
spam.
Yeah, of course. AI is going to be good at filtering as well. No, that's perfect. So that's Yonatan, Jiga, Jiga.io. I guess that's it. So again, thank you so much for being here today, for taking the time. And to our listeners, thank you for staying with us until the very end. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app and leave us a 5-star review. This really helps the podcast grow. I will tell you until next time on the Lobster Talks. Yonatan, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Gabriel, for having me.